All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 3, 2, 1, Pitch Slap. Oh, yeah, we got that one.
We got
Yes,
it. We counted down that time.
Pitch Slap. All right, so
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, Dan with the master plan is taking on a very courageous feat. A feat I think all of us who saw the new trilogy would agree is something that we are in need of. So, Dan the man, when you are ready, hit him with it.
Yeah, so a little bit of context for anyone who's watching. I have talked a lot of smack about the most recent addition to the Star Wars universe, the Rise of Skywalker. And I was even on a podcast with Stefan where I talked a lot of smack about it. Um, and I didn't really have an idea of how to resolve that storyline that they set up, other than saying I didn't like it. So because I have run out of all sorts of creative ideas, I was like, maybe I'll do like a fan fiction weird thing where I'll plot out, you know, what I would hope to be the last Star Wars film in that trilogy. So I tried to do it all in one night, and as you might expect, you can't write a movie in one night. Well, maybe some people do. I know Stefan could probably pull it off, but um, yeah. So I don't know. I was trying to I will even. I don't know if this is going to be reversed or not in the camera, but I even did a chart, trying to dissect what makes a Star Wars movie a Star Wars movie. You know what I mean? So it's you have, and it was just word association here. So I picked out some themes, of the main trilogy that you know uh, I thought kind of made the film. So there's this idea of family, and found family. Um, this I feel like the original trilogy is, and even the prequels too, have this persistent hope in them. You know what I mean? Where even in the first, in the prequel trilogy, although it ends with the downfall of Anakin Skywalker, it ends on a hopeful note with children. You know what I mean? Children being the next generation. Um, so I mean it's bleak, but yeah, I feel like at its core, Star Wars is a hopeful franchise. It's not going to end with the main person dying and being haha, So there's got to be an element of hope. Um, Romance is a big thing in Star Wars. You got the Leia and Han, you got the Anakin and Padme situation. So got comedy and epic battles. So I was just doing a map of at its core what makes a Star Wars movie, because I was I have no idea how to even begin tackling something like that. So I highlighted a few things. I was like, okay, you know, here are some ideas that the Star Wars universe has put into motion before even the new trilogy started, and here's maybe the sandbox we can play around with. So that's where it started. Then I have another map where I broke it down into, okay, this is what I like, this is the meh, and this is what I disliked about the new trilogy, or what I would like to change. And it's not a comprehensive list, but and I would say I had a lot of things I did really like about the new trilogy, mainly in the first two. Um, and I had quite a few mans, and just I think if I sat down and really fleshed out what I disliked, I probably could have, but there were just two things I could think of. So one thing, this is really a messy conversation. Be prepared for some tangents, Stefan, and for anyone who's listening. So my goal last night was to start rewriting or replotting the Rise of Skywalker, but I think the problems with the new trilogy go deeper than just the last movie. I think they're all three of them as a collective are kind of messy because they're not telling like a cohesive story. I'm all for like telling an individual story, but I also think like there's got to be some connectivity, some cohesion there. So that's why I was like trying to pick apart what I liked, what I didn't like. Um, and Stefan's probably going to disagree with me on some of this stuff, for sure. But I will say the things that I really liked about the new trilogy, that like sparkled at me. One, I really liked the force connection between Rey and Kylo. I thought that introduction in The Last Jedi um, was something we had not seen in previous Star Wars movies, and I thought it was a logical extension of what was built. They did something in the prequels which I thought was pretty cool. It was like Anakin and Padme were kind of like seeing each other, and even in the original, where it's like Luke and Leia were like communicating but not in the same room. And I thought this was an interesting extension of that. It had a similar vibe, but they were like, they were tethered somehow. You know, uh, so I like the force connection between them, and I also like sort of their competing philosophies. I will say I didn't like the romance between them. I really didn't. I didn't think that worked, and I thought it was a bit forced. But I liked their competing philosophies. Rey is sort of beholden to traditions. She wants to like um, uphold like the Jedi tradition, and she sort of has like this strict um, black and white mindset between like good and evil, especially at the beginning. And Kylo is like F tradition, you know what I mean? Like let the past die. And I really thought that was an interesting, they really like sparred on a philosophical level. And I thought that was interesting. Um, I really liked Poe and Finn, and I wish they had like more of them together. That's like I know I really like The Last Jedi from I think it's probably the most ambitious Star Wars film in terms of the storytelling. Now it's got problems, and where it falls flat, it really falls flat. And I'm sure Stefan is happy to tell anybody who's willing to hear it, that it has some failings, but I think that
Salt.
um, you know, dude, whatever.
I love you, Dan.
Uh, I think The Last Jedi was the most ambitious one in terms of storytelling and like you know extending the themes of Star Wars. In terms of like what makes up a Jedi or like what makes them good in the first place. And who says that they're even good. I like the fact that he questioned that tradition, and I thought that was that was something I really liked. You know. Um, so I'm throwing out like a lot of things, and I'm not pitching anything new. But I guess I have a little bit of new stuff. It's not really like new storylines, but it's like where I would have liked the characters to possibly end up. So I did a lot of mapping and charting, and this is probably the last one I'm going to show you. If I don't know if anybody can see, but like I looked at the characters and I was like, okay, where did they start in the story, and where would I have liked them to end up? You know, um, so for Finn, that one, I really like Finn as a character, and I think you see him at the beginning of the Force Awakens as sort of like the reluctant stormtrooper. He doesn't want to do that job. But he doesn't really fit into like the rebel cause either, which I thought was an interesting development in The Last Jedi. But where I would have liked him to end up in, the, you know, in his arc would be like to be a leader. You know what I mean? Like he's not a leader in the first one. He's just someone who's taking orders, and he doesn't like the orders he's given. But he's also like not attached to, the rebels' cause. So I was like, I would have liked him to like be a leader of like a stormtrooper rebellion or something. You know what I mean? Like obviously, if he can like break the code, like break that conditioning, other people can as well. And I think it would have been smart to see him like be a leader in that respect. Um, I liked Poe, and I liked especially how they set him off as like this impulsive, wire type of person. He almost had like an Indiana Jones esque quality, where he was like roguish, but he was also sort of bumbling too. Like he didn't have everything figured out. He wasn't like very strategic. He kind of like he didn't win all the time. He got his ass handed to him. And I was like, where would I have liked Poe to end up? Because I don't know. Um, I really liked his relationship with Finn, but I was like, should he have lived? I mean, he's brilliantly brought to life by oh my god, what's his name? The actor who plays Poe.
Oscar Isaacs.
Oscar Isaacs. Oh my god, how did I forget his name? Oscar Isaacs, I thought brought him to life really well, but I was like, I couldn't think of like where I wanted him to end up, and in that frustration, I was like, maybe he should have died in that first film. You know what I mean? They led us to believe in the first film that he died, or like he could have believably died, when they crashed on the sand planet. I forget the name of the planets, but I don't know. I was like, I like him as a character, but I couldn't figure out what to do with him, and I was like, maybe he should have just died. That was just me being frustrated, though. I'm sure there's a creative ending point for him.
It would
You
have
know,
been subversive, though, right? Like if, like, oh, like you said, this roguish Indiana Jones figure of the sky, right? Very charismatic, and then dead.
but yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it could have been subversive. Like you think that he's gonna be the hero, and then he doesn't
Yeah,
end up being.
exactly.
Yeah, but
Which
yeah,
then
I
could
don't know.
have given Finn, like you said, that leadership role to fill in the shoes of his fallen comrade.
Yeah. I think that's where I think that's where I was sort of getting stuck with Finn and Poe. Is I was like, Poe is naturally positioned to be the leader, from the position, from the very start. Like he's just very skilled in just being a pilot and stuff. So I feel like he is set up to be the leader in some respects. And maybe they could both be the leader. Maybe that's the thing. They can conquer the galaxy together. I don't know. Maybe there doesn't have to be one leader. They can learn to work. Maybe that's Poe's arc, is like learning to work together with somebody and not just like doing his own thing. I don't know. I don't know, man. So that was Finn and Poe. Ray, I was just like stuck on Ray too, actually, because I really liked Ray as a character, and I liked how they set her up, and I liked her in the Last Jedi. But I don't like the Palpatine stuff in the last film. But I can see an argument for like why people like it. One, it connects to there's sort of like a symmetry to it in some cases because you're building out that villain from the main franchise and you're trying to like blend at least in some respect like that aspect of family. Star Wars is about family, and I know it's about like the Skywalker family, but having like a Palpatine family in there, could be interesting. So although I didn't like, I strongly did not like what they did with Palpatine in the last one. I was like, well, if they stick with the Palpatine heritage, like Rey is the descendant of a Palpatine, I thought it could be kind of interesting from like a character standpoint. To I feel like if you, I'm trying to form thoughts as they come to me right now, but um, like from a Palpatine's point of view, like the Skywalkers would be the bad guys, right? Because
Hmm.
like you basically orphaned this poor girl. She doesn't have any family. She doesn't have any connections. You basically relegated her to a life of, you know, I won't say slavery, but like almost. She's just like this, you know, poor person just abandoned in the middle of nowhere. So I could see a lot of uh, if the Palpatine heritage thing is some things that people connect with, like I could see that being sort of an interesting character beat, of what does that mean in terms of my relationship to the Skywalkers? Do I trust them? They have, you know, inadvertently put me in the position I was where I didn't have any family. So um, I could see that being kind of interesting. And also, like, the Skywalkers are positioned as the good guys, and in her story, they wouldn't necessarily be the good guys, which um, I don't know. I feel like that helps muddy muddy the waters a little bit between good and evil, Sith and Jedi, which I liked. That was a theme I really liked about The Last Jedi. So I was like, maybe we see Rey. Ideally, I would have liked her to like do her own thing at the end, like not be a Jedi or a Sith. I think it would have been cool if she just like did what they call like a Rey Jedi. You know what I mean? I don't really like that term. I think it's kind of it's not catchy, but like something in between. She's not so strict to the code of the Jedi that she's not willing to like stray from it. You
Right.
know, but she's also not dipping her toe into like the evil shit.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I thought it would be interesting, especially since like the Jedi Code, especially laid out from the by the prequels, like seems like cuckoo bananas. Like makes kind of like no sense. Like it, it really is a religion. Set up in the prequels.
Yeah, very much
You
so.
know, you can't marry, you can't love anybody. You gotta. You know, I understood like George Lucas probably took from like Eastern religions, in that respect. But I also think the Jedi Code is sort of like what undid the Jedi too. You know what I mean? Because it was like unsustainable. So I thought it would be interesting if she like set off to do her own thing. You know. So what else did I put here? um, and you know what? I was thinking there's something about the new trilogy that's just like it's lacking like a an interesting like mystery or like thing. I don't know. In the original trilogy, like you had this very like mysterious figure of like Darth Vader, and like the reveal that he is, Luke's father was like, oh my god, you know what I mean? And the new trilogy just, like doesn't have any of that. You know what I mean? So I was like, it needs its own Baby Yoda in some way. I don't know.
I think, like you said, with like when you were touching on like the whole Palpatine thing, I think like again one of the key highlights you said was the new trilogy didn't have like any like formatted plan for how they were gonna tell this elongated story, right? Because it's
Yeah,
9 movies now, right? Arguably 11 if you count Solo and um, Rogue One, right? They have 11 films in their franchise.
yeah,
Uh, the only other movie franchise that can compete with that is the Fast and Furious. But anyway,
right.
like you said, they don't have like a mapped out plan. But like if they were gonna go with that Palpatine idea, right? That could have been like you're saying, like the mystery, the reveal, right? But they would have had to like stitch and
Most,
weave that in from the jump, and
yeah.
they absolutely could have done that. Like Snoke seemed super dope, but then like he's just dead, and it's like,
We're gonna disagree,
oh,
but I think that was super cool. I also do think like if you kill Snoke in the middle, which I really liked because it like set up like, oh, anything can happen now. It like kind of broke the Star Wars pattern where in the third film, like you destroy a big bad, you know. Um, but if you're gonna do that, you need to like end on something that makes people want to come back for the third one. You know what I mean? So I think we're, you know, leaving another mystery from the very beginning would have been interesting. Like whether it's like something to do with Kylo Ren or Rey, you know what I mean? Or if there's just like something that they're all looking for, you know, in some respect. Like they're looking for something that you know, Snoke wanted it, you know, Kylo wanted it, Rey wanted it. They're all looking for something. And then at the end of like the middle, it's like that's what the tease is for the third one. Like someone's on their way to find it. I don't know what that thing is, but um, yeah, I don't know. I interrupted you, Stefan. So I kind of want to stop talking because I've talked at you for like 20 minutes. You've been a very kind listener where you've you know just let me talk, but I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts because I'm a mess. I honestly thinking about this last night and today kind of broke my brain a little bit. Like, what is a Star Wars movie? You know? So yeah, I don't know. Help me out, man.
I don't know, man. I think, like you said, you've clearly put a lot of time and thought into this, right? Like, and like you said, and no one can write a movie in one day. That's insane. But the fact that you have so much mapped out, right, like from the beginning of episode 7 to 9, like that's very impressive. You got the maps. I especially like that you have a meh section. Like that's awesome. I love that. Like, it's okay. We can make it work. Like that's really cool. And I dig your ideas, on a lot of ways, right? I think they really could have ended strong. I like that you were like, yeah, like that whole quote in someone else's story, you're the bad guy, right? So in the Palpatine story, Skywalker is their foil, right? They're
Yeah,
the one who knocked them from their high horse. So I think even if they kept everything in The Last Jedi, right? They kept everything like that, except maybe like you were saying, they tweaked some of the end. Like, what was the name of that crystal thingy in Return of the Rise of Skywalker? You know what I'm
I
talking about?
yeah
Okay,
yeah I yeah
so what if like they were like, oh, Snoke is trying to get to this secret Sith planet, and then Kylo kills him and is like, now I'm gonna get to this planet and take reinstate the Sith in the galaxy, and then like he gets there and it's like, oh shit, the Emperor, right? Like they could have done so much of what you're talking about, and I think it would have done fan service. I think it would have like brought some nostalgia to help close out like this franchise that so many people have like grown up with, come back to, been introduced to, that people want, instead of like now they're working backwards, right? Like luckily the
yeah
Mandalorian's a hit, and all the other stuff it seems like is coming along the way to explain this new trilogy. But I think your heart and so many other fans out there, you know, is in the right place, because it's just like, I don't know. How do you get the keys to the most regarded franchise and not have a plan? Like
yeah.
even if you don't like what the other guy did after you, right? That's the second movie. You now need to play with that sandbox. Don't just retcon things because you're like, oh, I didn't make it. Like,
Yeah, so I think when I think of like Rise of Skywalker, that is one gripe with it, but I also think like there are like very little stakes in it. Like it's like everything is bigger than life. We have like, you know, if the Emperor can return, like ostensibly like anybody can return, you know, he like raises an army from the ocean, you know, like it all feels flat. It feels just like a kid taking toys. And I mean, getting at this point, like I think these movies are fun in some respect because they do feel like a bunch of like toys almost. They don't feel kiddish, but they feel like there's a playfulness to it, and I like these big extravagant like set pieces, but I feel like in the Rise of Skywalker they're just like meaningless. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I have no emotional connection. And I was going through other Star Wars movies as well, like even The Mandalorian, like what I really like about The Mandalorian, you have um really the heart of it is the Mandalorian character, a guy who sort of just doesn't want to be connected to anybody, it is sort of hardened himself against the world, and like has a loving sort of like fatherly relationship with this, baby Yoda, I was like, that is what I like about the Mandalorian, but there are things about the Mandalorian that I don't necessarily like. So I'm like, maybe we could take stuff from the Mandalorian and throw it in this new trilogy. You know what I mean? Like that basic story, put it in the new trilogy. I was not a fan of Rogue One. I thought it was a beautifully shot movie, but like the characters did nothing for me.
Yeah.
Like the first hour of the movie is just like, you know, uh, just meh. So I I don't know. I was like, well, take like the ending battle scene of that movie. That's something that I liked. You know what I mean? So take that, put it in there. I was like trying to splice all these pieces together, and it didn't work. So um, I'm just gonna leave it off with like it's a mystery. It's a mystery, man. Have not cracked the mystery box yet.
Not yet, but then again, neither did J.J. Abrams, and that's his whole shebang.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
like I guess he probably did his best, but still, it's like you probably need to plan if you're given the what, yeah, yeah. You get it, you get it. But I really think a lot of the beats you're touching on are a lot of things that fans and Star Wars aficionados would applaud and would enjoy seeing it up on the screen. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
I guess that I want to ask the question. Like, I'm only one person, and I clearly have had a day of it trying to think of this. But like, what would you have liked to have seen in this new trilogy? Like, you know, the last one, the whole trilogy. Like, what would have you have liked to have seen done, if possible?
I think it would have been cool if at the end of the second one, like you said, right? They do tease like what's happening. I think they should have introduced those crystally thingies, right? To like find this hidden Sith planet. I think maybe something like, you mentioned the warring theologies of Kylo and Rey. What if he tells her, "Come with me to this planet," and it'll find out who you are, right? Something like maybe he knows, right? Like something along those lines, right? Like the Emperor has been telling him what to do, like to kill Snoke, take this, come there. I think that would have been really cool to make him, because he is a Skywalker, right? Have a Skywalker be the emissary for a Palpatine, so this young Palpatine can, help her grandfather. Take the
Yeah,
throne. I think that would have been interesting because then it would have ended and everyone would have been like, "What?" Like that moment, a cliffhanger, whether you agreed with it or not, you would go see the third one because he's back, like which is when the trailer came and it's like no one ever really dies and you hear the Emperor, you go because you're like, "Wait, what?" But this would, I feel like, doubled down on it. So
yeah, yeah. I think those are good ideas, Stefan. Like, I'm down with it.
but like
Let's rewrite Star Wars.
yeah, no, for real. We should rewrite that one. I mean, even if just as a fun exercise. But I think that would have been cool. I don't think it was cool like Rose Tico's role. Instead of expanding upon it, they were just like, yeah, this wasn't anything. We're gonna shrink it. But it's like you've already committed so much time to this character. Don't just like eviscerate it. And then I
Yeah,
thought them just shoehorning Billy D. Williams in there was just like, well, we didn't put him in the last two, so we need to do it like that's messed up.
yeah. I was gonna say like the side characters in this trilogy don't feel like they don't make an impact. Like I think of, you know, Lando in the original trilogy. You know what I mean? Like he was a side character. Like he wasn't a main character by any means, but like he had weight behind him. Like I mean, Billy D. Williams just has a lot of charisma. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he made that role. But like, I was thinking of like Holdo, um, all of the side characters in Rise of Skywalker. They had some wonderful actors, but I was like, these characters like are forgettable to me. You know what I mean? Um, so that's something I would have liked to have seen. Like instead, and in the third one, I think with the third one, they just added too much. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like you add all of these like side characters, but you're also trying to like close out the story. It feels too much. Like at that point, you should be like cutting characters. Like this one dies and this one dies. So like I like the idea of some of those characters, but I would have liked to have seen them like sewed in earlier. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I
Yeah.
also think if you're gonna make it look like I would have like I like Chewbacca, right? But like you said, there are no stakes in this, right? There are no stakes at all. They should have had Chewbacca go out killing Kylo for killing Han.
I think that would have been interesting. Yeah.
Like Chewbacca's aware it's a suicide mission. He does it anyway. You killed my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I that's actually really interesting. I forgot about Chewie, and I forgot like that stupid like bait and switch thing they did, where it's like he's dead, but he's not. But yeah, I think that would have been really impactful, actually. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
To have that scene. Um, Now I don't know if anybody would forgive a director for killing Chewie, but I like the idea of it. You know what I mean? Like Chewie's going for it.
Yeah.
He's out for blood. Um, yeah, for sure. I like that.
And then I think Ray, like how she did in the when she talked about her name, I think there was room for some sort of monologue to say like your name doesn't determine your history. You're gonna make your own, and that would have been a fine ending, right? I don't really think it should have been called Rise of Skywalker. Like I like the Skywalkers, but it's like enough, right? You're not a Skywalker. You were never a Skywalker to begin with.
Yeah.
Like it should have been called The Last Jedi, and then Rise of Skywalker should have been the title for the second movie because Luke comes back. And then this one's just called The
Yeah.
Last Jedi because she's now with The Last Jedi.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. You know, I know you really like movie names and stuff. So yeah, I would agree with that switch. You know what I mean? Um, for sure. You know, yeah, I agree. Like, I think what they set up for Ray, was like, what she wanted was that she was like waiting for her family, right? You know, um, and in the end, I feel like they were trying to be like, oh, she found a family, but they also like had her all alone at the end too. Like in the desert. If her story is about like, you know, finding like creating a found family, like they should have maybe just had her like stick around with her crew at the end. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um, yeah, I also feel like with Ray, there's this need for like external validation, like she's important, you know, to the story. She wants to get Luke's validation. Like she wants to get his attention. I feel like that was an interesting character flaw that she had that they didn't really like develop in the third one. Like she had to. I feel like that was something she should have overcome in some way. You know what I mean? And I feel like Kylo was pointing her to that. Like, f these people. Like you don't need validation from these people. Like they're the people who made up this messed up system in the first place, which is like, you know,
Hmm.
sort of right and also sort of wrong. He's got kind of backwards views about it. So I don't know. I've talked too much, Stefan.
No, you've been dropping
Yeah.
a whole lot of interesting opinions and thoughts, man. Like this is good, right? Especially if we look back at this and like, okay, I like what he said at this part for the rewrite of the Rise of Skywalker. Like this is good. You got the fact that you got so many like laid out things. That's cool. Like you put a lot of time into it. And I think what you're really trying to say is when you're done with Hallmark, is give Star Wars to Dan, and you'll be happy, right? We need the Simcock cut of the galaxy far, far away. That's what we
I don't
need.
know if everyone's gonna be happy. In fact, I would reckon that this would probably be better in like your hands
No.
because yeah, 100% it would. Because you're better at like these action like quest things. You know what I mean? So,
Well, that's because we got
um,
to team up to do it. It's a
yeah,
thing.
that,
We'd have to
I think
team
so
up.
too. I think so too.
But like
Uh,
you're already connecting dots. Like they didn't even think about this stuff, Dan, and they make bajillions of dollars.
yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, what a shame.
Yeah,
What a
and it's
shame.
like they're supposedly fans as well, but it seems like everyone was just looking for a payday on this last movie, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Everyone was just like, all right, let's cash in. It's gonna make a bajillion. It's gonna make oodles of money because it's the last one, you know. So let's phone it in and use some cockamamie nonsense that makes no sense, and shoehorn everything.
Yeah. For sure.
Like when you said like, does the world need a Babu freak? No, the world does not need a Babu freak. You know what the world needed? A cohesive storyline.
But here's the thing. I put this in my like what makes Star Wars, and it's funny because Babu Freak was not in it, but I put like there's always some like cute creature in the Star Wars film. I don't know. They always like, and I feel like they do that because Star Wars is a story, but it's also like a thing to make money off of. Like toys and stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta make toys off of it. You gotta have something fun. So that's why I was like, this thing needs like just one cute thing, like a baby Yoda. You know what I mean? Like this, like I'm not saying like they should have put baby Yoda in this new trilogy, but like they needed something. You know what I mean? Something that would have carried you through. They tried to make like um BB-8. I think kind of cute. Um, but I don't know. It needed something. Maybe Babu Freak should have been in all
Babu
of them. I don't
freak.
know.
From the beginning, just Babu freak is the main dude.
Yeah, not the main dude, but I don't know. I honestly I found that scene to be one of the more enjoyable of the new movie, even though it like had nothing to do. It really was irrelevant. I was like, I like this little dude. Actually, I think I mean, I like Lupita Nyong'o, but I thought it was like, oh, maybe Babu Freak should have been like the Maz Kanata of this universe. I don't know.
Well, even
No,
like that touches another thing. There was not nearly enough of like, Maz Kanata, like at all. Like had some really dope lines in the first one, barely showed up in the second one, did next to nothing in this new movie, and it was like, what was the point of introducing like this cool Yoda-esque character and then to not like utilize it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and she's talented, right? You got a really talented actress, you're not utilizing.
yeah. I think at the end, Babu Freak and Maz Kanata should have gotten together.
Yes, and then
She
together
seems kind of like
they
she
make
seems
Baby
kind of
Yoda.
freaky. Yeah,
She
yeah,
seems kind of free.
yeah. I mean, there's that line in the Last Jedi. It was a weird line, I admit, but like she got some
Mm.
freaky stuff in her. You know what I mean? Like Miles Kanata and Baba Freak. They're gonna get freaky.
Get your free. Yes, yeah. I'm sure somewhere on the internet that exists.
I'm sure. Oh man, why did I do? I have a cursed image in my mind now.
Uh,
Oh no.
I hope no one goes looking for that.
Yeah. So
Oh.
so I guess to close this out, Stefan, since this has been like a 40-minute discussion, I have no solutions. And somebody please write a new version of Star Wars.
But the last one, the Rise of Skywalker, that is the one that needs to be fixed, or arguably the falling action of the Last Jedi,
Sure.
or pieces need to be added too, not taken over. They need to do threads of things into the next one.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. That one's good.
You look like you want my like you do not need my validation, Stefan. I know you think that The Last Jedi is trash. You know.
I was looking for your validation on that one. That's absolutely right. But I agree. The Rise of Skywalker is a dumpster fire, and it did not receive the love and affection it so rightfully deserved.
The Last Jedi, you just said.
The Rise of Skywalker did not receive.
Oh.
Rise of Skywalker is a dumpster fire, and it did not receive the love and care it so rightfully deserves.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. If you are interested in seeing Dan roast me and get at me hard, I'll put a link into that Star Wars podcast where he goes off, and it is marvelous.
Consider this part 2.
Well, until next time, thank you very much for joining us. It has been a blast discussing Star Wars. If you have any thoughts, comments, please put so below. And I hope one day we get to see the Simca cut of The Rise of Skywalker. It's also possible my computer's frozen. But anyway, this has been another episode of Pitch Slap. Yes! Yeah, that got it that time. We will see you next time.